I probably do D.
D, true strength isn't measured by physical strength.
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
You're on your way to becoming Chiaotzu.
Yeah.
Oh, man. If one of you gets Chiaotzu.
I think when I was in year 7, it's like, one of the teachers were like, "Oh, you got a really low voice for a 12-year-old."
How many years have you been held back for?
Yeah, that was the question, I think.
You go to your white friend's house and they go foxtail
Oh,
and they flip all
man,
this
yeah.
shit. So it's like fucking Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory.
You always
man.
remember
I was
the
like,
first
"What's all
time
this
you
fucking-"
visit your white friend's house and they're eating potato chips in sandwiches and watching fucking Terminator 2 on demand. I'm like, what is this world? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with the H, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi. Hi, Tavi.
Hey, Dan. What's going on?
Not much. We've got a guest on our show today, don't we, Tavi?
Well, we do, yes. We want to welcome Ethan from the Growing Up Bananas podcast.
Hello, Ethan.
How are you guys? Thanks for allowing me to become the third Asian bloke.
Not
no
at all.
worries, man. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, man. I'm not sure who reached out to who first, but it's great to have you on the show, man. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your podcast?
Yeah, thanks, man. So I guess in terms of who reached out to who, I think we sort of connected early on when I started my podcast probably 7 or 8 months ago. I was probably DMing Dan, I think, at the time. Mm-hmm, and there seems to be a really cool Asian podcast community, especially in Australia, but also globally. So saw the cool name, saw the amazing reels, which we've joked about off air. And we sort of just hit it off and at some point wanted to do some sort of a collab. So here we are. Growing Up Bananas. So the whole concept derived from the fact that I've always grown up around predominantly white communities. Mm. So born in South Africa, moved to Australia here. And you always just don't quite feel at home being an Asian in a white country, whether it's the things you do, what you wear, the size of your eyes, all these sorts of things. And I just figured that at some point that other people would have similar experiences to us. So started the podcast and 20-something episodes in and a few months later, a lot of time spent and here we are.
In this group, we all grew up in Australia, right? But I know that a lot of your guests have come from a variety of Asian backgrounds and growing up backgrounds. So it's cool to see that there are similarities to our kind of upbringing and experiences, but there's also a lot of differences as well and a lot of variations. So it's cool that you're able to kind of bring out these stories in this community. And
I really
I
think your podcast is a lot more highbrow than ours.
To be honest, 90% of podcasts are more highbrow than ours.
There's definitely you have a very clear structure in your questions and shows. Dan and I mean, we've got this outline that Dan written up here, but most of the time we don't do it.
Yeah,
and most of the time I'm usually quite tired when we record, and then I'm just I feel like I just got to let the intuition run through. But no, as Dan said, just watching a couple of your episodes, it's quite a relatable thing for many, I guess, westernized Asians or Asians growing up in a white country. I definitely, especially if you look at my schooling, it's but we're gonna appear on your podcast at some point in the future, probably when this episode is released at a similar time. So we can get all deep and meaningful.
I don't know if Tavi and I have as interesting stories as your guests that you've had so far. So it might be a lot of work for you to kind of bring it out.
I think you would. I mean, I think everyone thinks that this story is kind of vanilla and there's not really much to it, but just talking to the people that we've had on so far, and everyone has a story, everyone has some sort of a journey that's brought them here and different things that their upbringing have influenced them to today. And just on your point as well, Dan, just the variety of backgrounds, the variety of stories. The biggest thing and the biggest, I suppose, message and takeaway that we try to give out is just different ways that people have actually coped with it. So whether they've been in Australia for 2 years or 20 years, how they actually got through that, reflecting on that, how is that now adapted into their life today, and there's going to be so many people in similar stories, similar backgrounds. So how did those people actually cope with it, and what's the message to others in a similar situation? So yeah, in terms of structure and all that, yeah, we try to keep it fairly tight-knit. Main reason for that is when we did a test podcast with one of our friends, I reckon it ran for 3.5 hours because we were just testing the mics, having a chat, no structure, and geez, we were going around in circles for so long. So we just found that having that little bit of a structure just helped us move from point to point. But yeah, no, really, really looking forward to you guys coming on. I mean, I don't know if you guys have mentioned on your podcast your backgrounds, but I don't think I've ever actually met someone from Laos.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a pretty big community now in Melbourne. I guess that probably would have started in the 70s or something like that. But I'm not sure. I guess there's not much of a Lao community in Brisbane, if you haven't come across any of us. We do tend to be mistaken for Japanese because none of us really look Lao, apparently. Like every time we go to Laos, it's like, oh, it was this like Yipun guy, which means Japanese in
I think it's the facial hair that usually throws people off. But
I was giving a comment on that.
Probably.
You guys are the rare Asians who can actually grow a beard. Unfortunately, I'm with the majority where I can just grow a CD mustache, so I just run with that when I can.
No, my beard is my best quality. Ever since high school, it's like, oh, Tavi, that beard, man. And I've been censored by my teachers at one point. It's like, you gotta shave that beard. And it's like, how dare you?
You had a beard in high school? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I had a beard in high school.
Damn,
yeah,
jeez.
I've been having a beard since as long as I can remember. In like, I think when I was in year 7, it's like, one of the teachers were like, "Oh, you got a really low voice for a 12-year-old."
How many years have you been held back for?
Yeah, that was the question, I think. Slightly off topic, but what's it like? Because I only have to shave every few days, and it's just the chin and the mustache. Is it annoying that you guys have to maintain and groom those beards?
Well, groom is a loose term. Like you can see, like the listeners at home can't see, but you can see us here. We're pretty scruffy in general. So
I'm very scruffy.
We don't have. So I don't know about you, Tavi, but I don't have that much of a maintenance routine. Like if it's looking really out of control, then I might use a bit of like wax or something for it. But for shaving, like if I shave it off, it takes way too long to grow back. So I usually just shave like my cheeks and keep that like a bit neater. But maybe every month or so, I might go to a barber just for like a little bit of a trim. But that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Because one of my friends, he's from Iran, so they're more of a hairy type of man, and he's also got a shaven head. So he reckons he spends at least an hour a day grooming himself. So shaving the head, making sure it's down to the skin, and then he's got a perfectly manicured beard. So I was like, I cannot waste an hour a day trying to groom myself.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's a long process. I definitely don't have a grooming process. I'll go to the barber when I get a haircut and I have a beard at the time. I'm like, yeah, just shave it a bit and make it look nicer. But usually my process is once I start eating and it starts getting stuck in my beard, I'm like, all right, this is probably getting a bit too long. So I'll just shave my beard like completely. And then it'll grow back in like a couple of weeks. Yeah. So it doesn't take very long for me to grow my beard. Yeah. But I for that week period where I have like the baby face, like I hate it. It just looks, because it's my director beard, like my madness.
The Peter Jackson.
The Peter Jackson, basically, like the stress beard. I used to have a thing like if I start a production, I won't shave until the production's finished, and then we see how far that goes. But then it's like, oh, the production's gone on for too long, and then like I'm looking like psycho Asian Santa, so then I better.
No, but that's all part of it. That's like how you know it's gone on for too long when your beard gets chaotic.
Starts consuming people. But in terms of talking about structure, we can probably.
It took us what 3 minutes to throw our outline out the window. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a bit. That's all right, Just 3 Asian blokes having a chat, that's the vibe of the show.
So Ethan is going to help us today to talk about Dragon Ball Z, one of all of our favorite and possibly first animes that we watched growing up as kids in Australia. We're not going to be talking that much about Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball GT, so if you're fans of those series, probably listen to something else.
Dragon Ball Super,
Dragon Ball Kai, whatever, all the fucking bullshit out there. We're just gonna do Z, okay? We don't have that much time. We're gonna do Z, and that's probably too much already.
Yep.
But before that, let's do our reoccurring segment. What have we been watching? So this is a segment of the show where we just talk about what we've been watching lately.
Yeah, it's quite broad as well. Like even if there's like an interesting YouTube video that you've seen, you can mention that as well.
You want to kick us off, Tavi? Yeah. What have you been watching?
Yeah, actually, yesterday I was a bit bored at home, and I went to the cinema and I watched a Polish movie called EO, or EO as it's just spelt, and it's literally about this circus donkey who gets separated from his caretaker, who's like this young lady, and the donkey tries to get back to her. Sounds like a kid's road movie plot. It's anything but. It's definitely one of those weird art house European films. It's quite good. It's definitely like the message of the film is very much that kind of humans are pieces of shit, but there's some good people around. But yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting movie. The critics really liked it, so I was pretty intrigued to go see it. I thought it was pretty good. Maybe a little bit overrated, because there was supposed to be this kind of emotional gut punch at the end of the movie, but I was kind of just like, oh yeah.
Does the donkey die?
Yeah.
Is that the gut punch?
That's a spoiler, and I'm not going to tell you if the donkey dies or not.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to watch this film. I'm going to be honest.
But for any for any of the listeners out there, I'd give it a watch.
Sounds pretty art house.
But anyway,
what have you been watching, Ethan?
Yeah, so just finished a series. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's Chris Hemsworth Limitless.
It's popped up
on National Geographic. Really, really good. I really don't want to give anyone a spoiler because you've got to sit through the journey and go through it with him. But essentially it's about himself finding out about his longevity, his well-being, his future health. Well, they put him through a couple of tests, sort of very rigorous things that are going to benefit his health long term. And yeah, the last episode is so unexpected. So people, really check that one out. I can't recommend it enough.
Limitless.
National Geographic, that's a pretty interesting platform to put an action thriller series on.
Yeah, so it's actually a documentary.
You're thinking of the Bradley Cooper spin-off.
Limitless. Yeah, no, I love that movie too.
I was gonna say like the National Geographic like making TV shows.
When I first saw the thumbnail for Hemsworth's Limitless, I thought it was that. I thought it was like a spin-off of that one because the thumbnail is like it's Chris Hemsworth, so like maybe you're already kind of like thinking that it's going to be an action thing, but no, it looks a lot more like introspective. And yeah, I know he's been like there's been some health concerns with him lately, so
and actually it popped up from the show. So again, I don't want to spoil it too much for anyone, but yeah, basically he finds out that he's got a couple of sort of dormant genes. I don't think I'm giving too much away, but yeah, a couple dormant genes, and because of that, he's trying to figure out ways that he can kind of combat what is probably going to be inevitable for him. So yeah, really, really cool. I mean, you'll learn a lot about your own bodies and your own longevity. So, and he's jacked, so it's fun watching him do a lot of activities. So, what about you, Dan? What have you been into?
I watched the first half of The Princess Bride last night. Have you guys watched The Princess Bride?
The old movie?
Yeah, the old movie.
Yeah, a long time ago. I don't have very much memory.
It's like one of these cult classics that somehow I've managed to miss, like, for until now. Like, it's on Netflix now. It's got Carrie Ewes in it.
Oh, yeah.
And others. Like, it's one of those movies where you see the actors, and you're like, oh, it's that person, because they've gone on to do other stuff from that movie. It's all right. It's like, it's just a fun, like, kind of kids movie. It's kind of in the same vein as Robin Hood, Men in Tights. So it's kind of
first half. Is it that long because it's got an intermission, or just you couldn't muster out the second half?
Dan just got bored, I reckon.
I started the movie pretty late. I started at like 10:30. I mean, it is surprisingly long. Yeah, it's like a pretty beloved movie. But yeah, I just have never watched it until now. And yeah, I can see why people would have fond memories of this. It's kind of like Labyrinth as well. Like I've never watched Labyrinth before, but everybody like at our age is kind of like, oh man, I can't believe you haven't watched Labyrinth. That's kind of how I feel about with The Princess Bride as well. So I thought, yeah, should probably just watch it, and yeah, it's all right.
Well, 98% Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's worth a sus anyway.
I think that's probably more nostalgia than anything, but yeah, it's kind of like of that era of movies where like even the lame jokes kind of have nostalgia value if you're like of a similar age bracket as us. All right, that was our segment. What have we been watching? Shall we get to the main event for this episode? Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, fuck the dragon, man.
It's Rock the Dragon, Tabi. I think you know it's Rock the Dragon.
I always thought it was Fuck the Dragon too.
It's like dragon, fuck the dragon.
What an iconic like intro song as well, though.
Yeah, no.
So
good shit.
yeah, I mean, like Dragon Ball Z, very popular shonen anime. Came up in the 90s, created by Akira Toriyama. I don't know about you guys, but I watched Dragon Ball Z before Dragon Ball or before Dragon Ball GT. And yeah, I remember like being in primary school and just watching it every morning at like 7:30ish on Cheese TV. Is that how you guys watched it as well?
So again, growing up in South Africa, and it'll take the audience back quite a while. This is back in the day where you couldn't just go on YouTube or, go on a streaming site.
Imagine that.
You had to wait for an episode to come on, or you had to rent it from a Blockbuster.
Yeah. If you missed
those are the two options.
Those were the options.
That's it.
That's it.
So the South African run, we were probably, we would have been just past the Garlic Jr. saga. So leading into like the Cell games and all that. Come to Australia, we were already would have been start of the Majin Buu saga. So I missed the whole Cell games and had to kind of go back and rewatch it, courtesy of, again, Blockbuster.
Oh, okay. So you rented, like every VHS would have like maybe 4 episodes on them?
4 episodes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it wouldn't even have the whole series. So yeah, basically I missed the whole saga, kept jumping back and forth, didn't actually know what was going on because I couldn't just Google it. The rumors floating around from all the friends. No, this is what happened. No, this is what happened. And yeah, that was kind of how I got into it. So pretty disjointed in terms of a timeline.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of piece it together after a while. Like I watched, like preceding recording this episode, I watched like a recap of Dragon Ball Z just to refresh it. And so much fucking shit happens. Like
there's a lot.
Stuff that I like kind of remember but don't really remember. So if you're listening to this and you're a hardcore fan of Dragon Ball,
you're probably not going to be happy.
Apologies in advance. We'll probably get some stuff wrong.
As you were saying, Ethan, you said like Garlic Jr. I'm like, oh fuck, I vaguely remember that. And I'm like, I had a very similar viewing experience to Dan. Really, just like Cheese TV. My biggest gripe was when I think they moved the time slot to a little bit later. So I would always watch the first half of an episode and then I had to go to the bus stop. And like it sucked because Dragon Ball Z was basically my reason for waking up early so I can watch it.
Yeah.
And then you got to go to school and deal with dumb shit.
And the first half of the episode is basically the theme song, a recap, and then that's pretty much it, and ads.
Fucking hell.
Anime. Shonen anime back in the day. That's what the experience
definitely
was.
weren't trying to move the story along quickly, that's for sure.
I think that's been improved in recent iterations. Like I think Kai, which is like a kind of a retelling of the stories, but with all the fat trimmed out of it, right?
Yeah. I think Kai or Super, is it called?
Yeah. A lot people prefer Super, I think, because it's got kind of better voice acting in it as well. Like the voice acting when we watched it coming up, it's probably some of the worst voice acting that I've ever heard from like an English dub of an anime.
They redubbed it though,
they did redub it eventually. Like I think
they got new actors.
When it was originally distributed, Funimation outsourced it to the Ocean Group. So there's a few different dubs. So depending when you jumped into the series, like Goku sounds a bit different. Like I think the Ocean's dub Goku has like this really deep voice. But then Funimation decided to move it in-house. I think that was probably like after the Ginyu Force got beaten. I think that's when that change took place. So that's when you get... not only did they change the voices, but they also like put in a few more jokes. Like there's a bit more localization going on. So I think they're going for like a more family-friendly tone. So they add some...
A jelly donut.
They add some pretty like cringeworthy lines to it. Also, the music is a bit different because like Japanese music licenses are weird, so they had to change a lot of the music. Like,
have you guys seen those videos where they're doing the voice recordings and they're recording the guys doing it, and apparently they all pass out all the time because you're literally screaming for a minute at a time and they just can't get enough oxygen back. You got to put that video in the description because it's hilarious. I love that
dedication to their craft though.
Yeah, they're like, we have to be physically fit.
Yeah, they brought back a lot of the voice actors for later dubbings, like Kai and Super. But they've just gotten better at voice acting, I think. They've gotten a bit more experience. So, like, even the cast acknowledges, like, the original Dragon Ball Z dubbing is for nostalgia, whereas Super and Kai are for, like, quality. And, I think people can tell the difference. But, I mean... nostalgia is good as well. Like even the bad dubbing and the cringeworthy lines, like they make me kind of chuckle. So I think that's part of the enjoyment of Dragon Ball Z.
And what got you guys into it?
Well, what else are you going to watch at 7:30 in the morning when you're eating?
It's true. Like Australia has like 4 channels on TV, right?
Oh, that was back in the day though. Yeah.
Too early and you're watching aerobics.
Yeah, I did watch aerobics actually. I'd catch like the second half of aerobics because I'd be waiting for Dragon Ball to come on. I want to watch this fucking like bunch of people in skin-tight skivvies and fucking prancing around to Whitney Houston or Tina Turner or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to watch fucking Dragon Ball.
There were 2 cartoon shows running at the same time. One on Channel 7 was Agro's Cartoon Connection, you know, with that racist puppet. You ever seen that show?
No.
I'm not sure if you were in Australia at that point.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, Agro's Cartoon Connection. It was like Choose TV, but the hosts were like a girl and a puppet.
A racist puppet.
Yeah, I mean racist and sexist, but it's the 90s, so it's kind of like racist and sexist by today's standards. So, and I forget what kind of shows they had. I think they had Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon.
And like maybe I can't really remember, but Dragon Ball was on Cheese TV, and I don't know. Like I think for boys at that age, Dragon Ball was like the way to go. It was like what people were talking about in the playground.
So it's like you start off with Pokemon, and then for the men it was Dragon Ball. It's like, that was it. But what got you into Dragon Ball, Ethan? Like, how did you get into it?
So it would have been exactly as you guys said. It was the cool thing for the guys to watch. I never really got into Pokemon. Probably going to get panned for that, but never really got into Pokemon. Right. Always more of a Digimon guy. And then obviously Dragon Ball Z, you got these guys who just fight and they're superheroes. And what can I say? The women on there too, they're pretty well depicted. And then you got guys like Master Roshi, who's pretty much getting a hard on every time a woman walks by. That sort of stuff's funny, right?
Yeah.
For a young guy.
Old man boners are funny. Yeah.
Actually, was Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, shown in South Africa? Because we didn't get it because of the risque jokes.
Oh, is that why we didn't get it?
Yeah,
okay.
Like it was too like adults. So we only got Z first in Australia just because we couldn't have Master Roshi like ogling porno mags, you know.
And even then we got the censored version of Z, didn't we? Yeah.
That's right, yeah. No, I mean I never saw it. So I left South Africa when I was 11, so I was pretty young, didn't have access to anything really. But no, I never watched it in South Africa. And now hearing why it wasn't actually shown in Australia, that makes complete sense because, yeah, some of the stuff for a young kid who knows nothing about anything is probably not the best thing to show.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things about anime, how it's like a cartoon, but at the same time, yeah, girls with their tits out and old men getting boners.
Yeah, anime gets censored quite a bit in Australia. There's still some like old fucker in Parliament who's trying to like ban anime or whatever. There's a few articles about it, but he's like, oh yeah, it's not safe for kids and stuff. And it's like, fuck off, you cunt. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can swear in this podcast as well because we're not monetized anyway.
Yeah. Unless YouTube bans us. Unless we get censored ourselves, then we'll have to clean it up.
Unless I begrudgingly have to put beeps over every time I say cunt, then I have to like, you know.
No, Australia is pretty strict when it comes to censorship. Even our video game censorship is pretty like up there, like in terms of games that just get straight up banned or has to. I remember like there was a South Park game where it's like a bit where you get abducted into an alien spacecraft and then you get probed.
Yeah, you get anal probes, yeah.
And then that whole section was cut out, I think, in the Australian version.
Is this a recent one, or not recent, but the one that came out on PS4?
It came out on PS4, but it's not the fractured butthole. It was the Stick of Truth. It was the one before that one.
Right,
so it was an RPG one. Yeah, I was actually going to buy that game until Australia decided to do that. So I'm admittedly going to say I pirated it because I don't like censorship. So I played it with the full anal probing scene. I'm like, yeah, take that. Classification board, come at me. Next minute, like, FBI, open up. I get dragged away. Yeah.
So I was going to say one last thing, and I think we touched on it just before about the timing of Dragon Ball Z. So Cheese TV, just before you go to school, it's the last thing on everyone's mind, or the first thing. So you get to school and everyone's talking about it. So it really, like that whole sort of ecosystem or machine that they built, I reckon that's a big reason why kids in Australia really fond of Dragon Ball Z.
100%. And that doesn't really exist anymore, right? With like streaming services.
Yeah, because you just watch whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
well, that's it, yeah.
Especially the binging style. So the Netflix model as opposed to like a Disney Plus model. Like I remember when The Mandalorian came out and it was like episodic, so you have to wait week by week.
Yep.
But that like really contributed to the success of the show because people were talking about it like in between episodes. So it kind of built up that kind of word of mouth gradually, as opposed to a binging format where you can't really talk to people about a show if you're at different points in the show.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that kind of like affects it as well. So yeah, like growing up and only having access to this day-to-day episode format, I think that's why it's stuck in people's minds so much. Like, and even though a lot of shit happens in it and you can't really remember everything that's happened, you remember the stuff that sticks out, like the Cell saga and the Frieza saga. Not so much Garlic Jr., but
I actually really enjoyed that saga. I don't know why.
That's the vampire guy, right? I'm thinking of the right guy, right?
Garlic Jr. So again, the naming of the characters, we can probably talk about that later. But all of his henchmen were spices.
Like the Spice Girls.
Pretty much like the Spice Girls. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed that saga because there wasn't a lot of super overpowered stuff. And it was just Gohan kind of going on his journey while Goku was away at the time. So yeah, probably not a very big saga, but I don't know why I did enjoy it.
Yeah, just having a look at pictures of Garlic Jr. He's a little Namekian guy. Yeah, I'm just remembering.
I think it's like it's like an in-between saga, no?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit shorter.
Yeah, it's a filler. I actually wanted to take it. We skipped this question in the Thingo, but I wanted to know from you, Ethan. We've got written here what kind of shows, music, and movies did you grow up on? Because I'm actually like genuinely curious about that.
Yeah.
So we're winding it back a bit, as professional as this podcast is.
Yep. we'll get it in editing time.
That's all good. So I'm one of three boys, the youngest. So pretty much whatever my brothers were into, I had to be into. So music, firstly, 90s, all the standard stuff. It was like when the techno was coming in. heaps of boy bands, those sorts of things early on. Then growing up, sort of distanced myself from that, and I was into a lot of metal, a lot of sort of screamo music. I think that movement was pretty prevalent when I was in high school, so kind of just went through that, talking like Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine, those sorts of things. Really got into that kind of music. TV shows, again, like because the access was so limited, you kind of just had to watch whatever was there. So I liked Dragon Ball Z, and sort of spoken about why it's a question to everyone. Are the Saiyans meant to be Asian? I mean, they eat rice, they like noodles.
I think it's based off the Journey to the West story, so I think they are meant to be Asian. I mean, according to Dragon Ball Evolution, they're not really Asian, but
that's just a Hollywood remake there.
I think because it's created by Japanese culture, like they probably just have subconsciously made them Asian, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
I think it is a bit like Journey to the West. He's kind of always struck me as like Japanese Superman, right?
Goku. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then I mean, if you go then look further back, so Dragon Ball, he's got the stick and the cloud. Based off the Monkey King. But so it's those sorts of shows. All the Digimon was a massive show for us. I think we were joking about it the other day when we were talking off air. It's probably one of the few kids that actually enjoyed it, and it was mainly because of the video game, the PS1 game, Digimon World. Could probably still play it now. It was so good. But in terms of anime and those sorts of things, I just never really had a lot of exposure to it. So when I got a bit older and I started to hang out with more Asians, try to then go out of my way to learn a bit more about the whole culture. So it started with watching like, Taiwanese dramas and things like that. And basically just developed from there. But just a lot of anything that wasn't sort of Asian. That's what I was watching when I was younger.
I think that's pretty common. I think I was into anime and Dragon Ball because like my earliest memory of loving a movie was Predator, Aliens, and Clash of the Titans. So I was always into like monsters and violence, I suppose. So when I watch Dragon Ball and I'm seeing like, people get like gut punched through and stuff, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then you would probably catch glimpses of Akira on SBS and Ghost in the Shell. And then I was like, oh man, this smokes fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and whatever else.
Watch the Tabi.
Hey man.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rocks.
It's a classic, but like when I was a kid, I'm like I'd grown, like my dick grew like 3 inches after watching those like animes, I'm like, man, this is the real shit. So I think that's how I really got into anime as well. But it's interesting that you mentioned that you like metal, Ethan, because like, and this is probably going off topic again, but fuck it. But it's because metal, I love metal growing up as well, especially in high school. And I still love metal now. I still listen to it a lot. But I did a podcast with Boone, one of our mates who comes on the show, and we talked about metal. It's not really like, in the broad sense, like a typically Asian genre of music.
You're right.
Would you agree with that?
100%. So I guess to premise it, I play the drums, so been in a couple of bands, etc. And to get and take a step further back, pretty much all my friends, probably till the age of 18 or 19, were white. So I had very, very little Asian influence other than my brothers, but then they were in the exact same boat as me. So all their friends were white. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. So like I talk to my friends now and they were definitely not listening to Metallica or any of those sorts of bands.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting though? Because I maybe grew up like in high school, it was kind of the flip side. Like I had a pretty big Asian circle and maybe one token white friend, and we were all into that kind of 90s R&B, the 2000s R&B, like really gross Usher kind of stuff, which I still like, but we were like all listening to that, whereas our white friend was like into metal. So like I don't know, maybe it's like it's just that kind of music that appeals to that demographic. But yeah, I'm guessing like if you're into musicianship, metal and rock music probably would appeal to you more than Usher.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can do a deep dive in it when you guys come on the Growing Up Bananas podcast.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to talk about that. It's cool.
I think Asians by nature are pretty respectful of their parents, and they don't want to be too disobedient. And the whole premise of metal is to it's not act out, but it's to show yourself and be yourself, and show the emotion. So maybe that's the reason why the music styles are quite different. Because you're 100% right. I think we've all touched on it. It can sort of be a cultural thing.
Yeah. No, I definitely would love to talk about that on your podcast because, it's definitely something that's pretty dear to me in, my growing up as well. But I guess we should talk about Dragon Ball Z.
Well, I mean, going back to a little bit, Tavi, you mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just remembered, actually growing up, there was this odd kind of mix of Western cartoons and Japanese anime on Australian TV. You'd get your Sailor Moon and your Dragon Balls and your Pokemons and stuff.
Mice from Mars.
But then, you would get your Biker Mice from Mars, your Street Sharks, whatever, other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ripoffs there were at the time, because there were a lot.
Street Sharks. And all the fucking toys, man.
But even X-Men, the animated series, and Batman, the animated series were out at around the same time, which are very iconic in their own right as well.
Yeah.
X-Men and Batman, they, did a lot of stuff that wasn't really being done at the time, introducing more adult themes into these cartoons that were primarily targeted towards kids that might not necessarily understand things like racism and segregation. But anime was kind of different in that it didn't really introduce such complex themes as that, but at the same time it wasn't really that kid friendly either. We mentioned Dragon Ball was just straight up banned from Australia, didn't make it to Australia, and even Dragon Ball Z, it didn't have that kind of sexually explicit, as much sexually explicit stuff as Dragon Ball. But it was quite violent, the Japanese version anyway. You've got people getting, punched through, blood's coming out, people explode and
Heads
shit.
knocked off,
Yeah. So, it was kind of I think at the time maybe we were at that age where we were looking for something with a bit more teeth than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I think that's a great point, especially as we touched on before, with Pokemon. If you rewatch Pokemon, and I don't want to do a Pokemon podcast, but it is such a kid's show. Just the jokes, the battle scenes, everything. It's a kid's show, so we're not going to go back and watch it. But then you've got Dragon Ball Z with, like you say, a bit more grit, a bit more violence. And I think, that's probably what resonated with a lot of young guys at the time.
And maybe less agenda as well. Shows like Pokemon, shows like Transformers and He-Man, they're basically marketing tools to sell toys. So, you don't get as much of the kind of storytelling, I guess. Whereas Dragon Ball didn't have the same agenda. It was basically a show just to entertain. So, maybe that subliminally made us kind of gravitate more towards Dragon Ball.
Did you guys have pay TV or All Stars was back in the day?
I didn't grow up with pay TV.
Our parents are Asian, so they're nah, fuck that. You just watch what's free, bro. Because they called me bro when I was a kid.
But we don't have the type of parents that would pay for television. They pay for a fucking library subscription, but not for television.
You go to your white friend's house and they go Foxtel and flip all this shit. So it's like fucking Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory.
You always remember the first time you visit your white friend's house and they're eating potato chips in sandwiches and watching fucking Terminator 2 on demand. I'm like, what is this world?
I'm pretty sure I watched Predator 2, which was R-rated, at my white friend's house. Yeah. I was like, oh, this has changed everything.
How old were you been?
Oh, maybe 9 or 10 years old.
Name brand soda? None of that home brand cola, just straight up Coca-Cola. Man.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because we were fortunate enough, and I think it's mainly because my dad wanted the sports package. So Cartoon Network, and you can really see the evolution, and it's probably hard to talk to you guys about it if you didn't have it, but when they brought on this, they had the whole, I guess, genre Adult Swim We had all like Gundam and all
I know
those.
Adult Swim. Yeah,
all those ones that came out. And look, to be fair, I didn't watch a lot of it, but you could really see the evolution from, you know, Cow and Chicken to all those sorts of ones.
Cow and Chicken's pretty good though. Like I loved like Nickelodeon shit as a kid, like Ren and Stimpy and what was that Cat Dog? Yeah.
Those are adult in their own way as well.
Yeah.
Like especially Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy is like so fucking weird, man. Yeah, it's this weird kind of like genre of cartoons that adults can also enjoy on some level.
Yeah.
Like kids probably won't get a lot of the adult humor, but it is there. Like even SpongeBob is like probably in that same vein.
Yeah, a lot of the jokes are quick.
Yeah, cartoonish enough for kids to like just like blindly enjoy, but you know, there's stuff in there for adults too. Pokemon definitely doesn't fall in that same. I don't think there's much there for adults to enjoy.
Great video game, but TV series, unfortunately not.
It's funny, there were a couple of speaking of banning things, there were like a couple of Pokemon episodes that were banned.
Really?
Yeah, there was this Pokemon called Polygon. I'm not sure if you remember that one, but it was like Polygon. And I think there were just a lot of like flashing strobe effects and like it was making kids sick. But there was another episode where James is like in a bikini or something because they're at some like some swimsuit event. But that episode was swiftly banned.
Too transgressive for the early 2000s Australian television.
I think Japanese kids can probably just handle it a bit better, or maybe less protective. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
And even Dragon Ball Z had stuff cut out of it, right, for the Australian release, like.
Yeah, just less violence. Yeah. Like you didn't see people's heads getting knocked off.
No blood or anything like that.
Yeah.
And no civilian casualties either. And that's like where that kind of redubbing comes in. You ever see that where it's like
I have
like Cell or something might blow up an airplane. And like
the Cell, whoever, he blows up like a news helicopter, and then like there's this cutaway like line from one of those like, oh, looks like they got out all right. It's like, whoa, they landed to safety.
Yeah.
They got out all right. You don't see it.
I can see their parachutes. And it's just clearly been redubbed so that these civilians got out. But in the Japanese version, they're straight up dead. Those news reporters are dead.
See the blood everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's like a real Batman versus Superman situation, you know? It's like, because you know how in Superman Man of Steel, like he has that big fight with Zod in the city and like he's just crashing through buildings and just straight up like civilians just getting killed all over the place. So in Batman versus Superman, like they do a big city battle again, but they're like, don't worry, it's past work hours, so everybody's gone home for the day. It's like they make a really strong effort to make sure that no civilians are getting killed by these heroes.
They didn't pull an Invincible, if you've seen that show.
Oh, yeah. No, I think...
where everyone just dies. But I guess we should go back to Dragon Ball again. It shows how much we know about Dragon Ball. You mentioned your favorite saga was Garlic Jr. saga. Was that your favorite saga, Ethan, or is that just
not my favorite saga, but just for the audience to show that I actually watched it. Favorite saga, probably not popular, but the Majin Buu saga. So before Kid Buu came, Babidi.
Yeah.
Reason why, and I guess I can put this question out to everyone first. Who was your favorite character? Because mine was Vegeta. All the time. All day, every day.
Oh, yeah.
And he was at his strongest, I reckon, during that saga. I don't know if you guys remember when he got possessed.
Yeah.
And he had the M on his head.
Yeah, Majin Vegeta, yeah.
Majin Vegeta.
That was pretty sick.
That was the coolest to me.
Possibly the only time he's really been level with Goku.
Well, that's the thing. And that's what I was telling my wife. Because she's like, why did you like that saga? Like, yeah, Majin Buu's cute and he's squishy. I was like, because Vegeta that was when he was probably at his peak. And then he just realized he could not compete.
100%. He's got like a lot of really strong emotional beats in that saga as well, right? Like, cause actually my favorite character is also Vegeta. And because he's got such like a strong arc compared to a lot of the characters, like he starts off as a villain, which is not that uncommon for like Dragon Ball, for the villain to eventually become heroes. But like he is a villain, and he's also like such a bad bloke in general. Like he's got so much pride that he makes like these decisions at almost every saga. He decides to like, he can easily best the villain, but he decides to like let the villain power up because he wants to have a better fight. And it's he does this multiple times throughout the show. And it's just like, oh, Vegeta, come on. You're going to destroy the world with your hubris. And yeah, he's always playing second fiddle to Kakarot. Like he starts off as like this really like elitist kind of dude. And like Goku is just like so beneath him, because Vegeta is the prince of all Saiyans, and Goku's like not even like a soldier, right? So, and then like losing to Goku really, it doesn't quite humble him, but it makes him like kind of lust for power kind of a bit more, like just so he can't really fathom why he would lose to someone like Goku. So that kind of kicks off his journey of just trying to get stronger and stronger, and having Goku as this rival that like is frustratingly powerful, like for no reason, like no reason that Vegeta can really understand. And then, like you said, Ethan, like in the Majin Buu saga, like that culminates in him, like in his lust for power, in his desire to get one up on Goku. He like succumbs to the dark side, basically. And then throughout that, like the events that happen in the Majin Buu saga, he like throws away the humanity in him, like his family that he's kind of had with Bulma and Trunks. He's like, nah, fuck that. I just want to be strong. And then he gets the strength from Majin Buu, but then he learns a lesson. He learns that actually family's pretty good. And
then ends up killing himself.
That's right, yeah. And it's so good, like that moment where Majin Vegeta like tells Trunks to leave so that he can go kill himself and defeat Majin Buu is like, it's such an emotional gut punch. It's probably like the strongest scene in Dragon Ball Z in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, definitely one off. And I love your summary of Vegeta, and that's why I think people liked him as opposed to Kakarot. He just had that extra little bit of layer to him. He wasn't always just trying to do good at every stage.
Yeah, I think Vegeta's like a fan favorite. Yeah.
Sick voice as well in the English dub, and
great voice.
Sick theme song, the Bruce Falconer score that goes with him. Like another like iconic Vegeta moment is when he beats the weird white android. When Vegeta turns Super Saiyan for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
And there's like this really intense like piano score as he's powering up and turning into like Super Saiyan for the first time. Fucking sick, man.
What about you, Tavi? Who's your favorite?
Specifically, Future Trunks. I've always been attached to these like really brooding, brought up on hard times characters.
John Connor.
And I remember waiting for years for him to come and like kill Frieza. Like I think that's my favorite moment to answer like those two questions at the same time. Like, because Frieza, for years we've been watching Frieza on repeats as well, because like, you know, Cheese TV would just replay a whole saga. I'm like, just fucking continue it, goddammit. But just watching Frieza like be gangster and kill planets and shit. And then like Trunks comes in and just smokes Frieza when he comes back. Like Frieza, who at that point was supposed to be at his most powerful form. But then like, Trunks comes in and he's like, oh cool, he's got a jacket, he's got a fucking sword. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm all in on that shit. Like whenever we'd play like Dragon Ball Z on the playground, I'm like, yeah, gonna be Trunks.
Yeah. He's got a really cool character design here. Like,
yeah. But his hair
is cool.
Yeah. And then Chibi Trunks, the less hardened Trunks, the kid Trunks, is like the complete opposite. I don't like it because it's just becomes a softie. Yeah. He's just like becomes another dweeb. Like I mean, like Future Trunks was really cool.
His backstory is so intense. Just like all his loved ones have been murdered by androids. And he's
Gohan has one arm and.
He comes from the darkest timeline for sure.
So I've attached to characters with extremely tragic pasts. I think.
That's a really cool moment as well, because that comes right off the back of like Goku beating Frieza, and it's like such a big moment when Goku turns Super Saiyan for the first time, right? But then like Future Trunks comes back to defeat Android Frieza, and he just casually turns Super Saiyan. He's just like, ew, and he's
He's like, oh, what the fuck, and he just smokes everyone.
Yeah, pretty good.
Well, what about you, Ethan? Did you have you said Vegeta's your favorite character, but did you have a favorite moment?
Favorite moment, so I'll give you a happy and a sad one. I reckon the saddest one was just after, so this is just before the Majin Buu saga, so when Goku comes back for that one day and he gets to fight in the tournament, then all the Majin Buu stuff kicks off. And then when he actually has to say goodbye to Goten, I remember, I reckon I would have been 13 or 14. I was crying because I was just trying to put myself in that situation. I'm like, this guy's never met his dad. His dad comes and for whatever reason he had to show off and become a Super Saiyan 3 and drain all the time and the energy that he had left, and then he just leaves. So I was pretty sad by that. I reckon that's that along with when Vegeta kills himself, two of the more sadder scenes. And then happy scene, you could talk about Goku turning Super Saiyan for the first time. I liked the fusion stuff. So
fusion stuff's cool.
Either the first time the boys fused to become Gotenks, or when they put the earrings on, they became, I think it was Vegito.
Oh, Vegito, yeah.
Any of those fusion ones are cool. But then it just gets silly because the powers are just too much. And
I was watching Dragon Ball Super, the Broly movie last night.
Yep.
And then like there's powers beyond Super Saiyan. Now there's like Ginger Saiyan, like you get red hair.
Yeah.
And then now you got blue hair. And like I was playing with my mate last night, and then I'm like, can you like refresh me? Because he knows Dragon Ball better than me. I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, why does he have blue hair? Why does he have red hair? And it's like, no, you see, there's this thing called God Ki. And then I was just like, okay, I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to remember. But the movie itself, it's really cool. It's like really cool fight scenes. Just like, you're pretty much only watching it for the fight scenes, really.
I was never a huge fan of Broly. I don't know, something about him. Like, he's just a big dude, right?
He's too big. He's just too big.
Maybe he's too big, yeah. Maybe that's the issue I have with him.
Oh, you're talking about, Ethan, like, actors passing out in the recording booths. The second half of that movie, it is just yelling. Like, that's all. You just hear lots and lots of yelling. And I was just like, oh man, this is it's fun, but it's like very exhausting to listen to. And then just imagining all the different takes. It's like, okay, you're going to have to put a bit more. It's like, it's like, yeah. But it was pretty classic Dragon Ball. It's quite nostalgic to watch as well.
It's just a lot of yelling in Dragon Ball.
There's definitely a lot of yelling.
I just remember like a lot of like previously on Dragon Ball Z.
Actually, I wanted to ask you guys a question. Who's your favorite villain out of the Dragon Ball series?
There's some classic ones. Yeah. What do you think, Ethan?
It's a tough one.
Garlic Jr.
Garlic Jr. Always goes back to Garlic Jr. I liked Cell. I think Cell was cool, but I think maybe just because the saga was cool.
Yeah, Cell Saga is cool.
I'd probably go for Cell. I think he looked the coolest. Like when he was perfect Cell.
Yeah, perfect Cell looks cool. The other Cells, not so much. There's like one with big lips. Cell.
Oh yeah,
semi-perfect Cell.
Yeah, I remember that. But that's why the cool Cell looks the best because he's just like,
It's true.
What about you guys? You got any favorites?
Actually, I just had a memory now. Like before even Cheese TV, I watched Dragon Ball when I was in France.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was with my French cousins, and they were up to the Buu saga. So, actually, my first exposure to Dragon Ball was the Buu saga. And I saw Majin Buu for the first time. The tall, skinny, like, lanky Buu. And, like, out of the character designs, I think Majin Buu is my favorite. Because he just looks like a fucking...
It's like Earthworm Jim.
You don't want to fucking... It's like... You don't want to fuck with this guy. He looks so fucking sinister. I remember I was like, man, this guy, like, you look at him, you're like, you're not going to fuck with this dude. Like, he's going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of, like, favorite villain, it would probably be Cell as well, because that saga is cool too. because I know that Frieza is my least favorite villain because
that just went on and on and on.
Yeah, but I remember seeing Frieza, the character design. I'm just like, this doesn't look very threatening.
I think it's the voice as well.
Yeah, and the voice, it's like Frieza is extremely grating, and even in Dragon Ball Super Broly last night, like Frieza, you're a bit of a cunt.
He's kind of like one of those villains that is designed to gather a lot of hate, though. So I guess that it's successful. So, But he's really hard to like because he's not cool, is he?
He's not very cool. Yeah.
Not likable whatsoever.
Yeah. He's kind of like Joaquin Phoenix from Gladiator. Like, you do.
Such a hateful character.
Yeah, you do hate him.
What about you, Dan? You got a favorite?
I think probably Cell. Cell's like a really good villain. Like his voice acting as well, like the musical score too. The design, I'm like, I think probably the Boo design is a bit better, but like
less character.
Yeah, just Cell's personality in general, where he's like, he wants to destroy the world, but at the same time he wants kind of like a good fight, so he makes this martial arts tournament up to decide the fate of the world. I think that's kind of like, just an interesting thing to do as opposed to just wanting to destroy everything or rule everything.
And Hercule saves the day.
Yeah.
Hercule. MVP.
MVP, mate.
I used to like Hercule. My brother and I always used to argue about it. I reckon his character is hilarious.
He's hilarious.
His character is really funny.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like, you're supposed to kind of hate him because he like takes the credit for people who are significantly stronger.
Yeah.
Or as Japanese audience call him Mr. Satan.
Yeah.
Mr. Satan.
They changed his name, didn't they?
They changed his name. You can't have Satan. Satan is too fucking...
Did you guys play, there's a PS1 game, Ultimate Battle 22. Did you guys ever play that game?
Probably. I think, was it a fighter? Or was
it was a fighter game, yeah. And it used to have...
I think we played it.
It used to have the character name, it was Mr. Satan. And then a few of the other characters had the actual, like, the Japanese names.
Oh, yeah.
And we were always like, what? Why is this dude called Mr. Satan?
Was it, I'm not sure if you can recall this, but I remember when PS1 was popular and I wanted to get Dragon Ball games on the, like, mainstream markets, you could not find one. Like, all the Dragon Ball games that I ever played on PS1 were like, they were bootlegged because like you just couldn't get them in Australia.
Right.
Like, I remember I was playing those games at your house, Dan, and like, you just got them through.
They were either bootlegged or like emulations on.
Yeah. So why do you think it was so hard to get? Like, especially with how popular Dragon Ball was. Was it because like
I reckon it's licensing?
Play Asian.
I think it's probably got something to do with licensing. Or censorship, one of those two. I mean, they weren't that good anyway. To be honest. I remember playing I think I played Dragon Ball GT, the game, and it was like when that 3D fighter was kind of like emerging, but like the controls were not really that great, and because like Dragon Ball characters can fly as well, so they've tried to add that fight mechanism into the game, but it doesn't really work because you can fly and you can go in all different directions, but you'd have to hold L1 and press the directional button to like rotate. I mean, I guess at that age, all you really want to see is all the characters that you like in the game.
That's right.
Have you guys watched any of the movies?
Yeah, I watched quite a few actually.
Oh yeah.
Back when I was younger. Problem is they all kind of don't really fit in with the wider story, and I guess that's the whole point of them.
So do they usually introduce a new villain and then kill him off like within that movie?
Sometimes. It's all pretty random. So sometimes it'll be like in between this and this guy popped up and we had to take care of him. But yeah, it's all kind of because the timelines are all messed is probably my bigger point. Right. And you have to really figure out when it's meant to be fitting in the wider story. I don't know if you guys saw there was this production company in the UK. I think it's called K&K Productions, and they were trying to get funding to do a remake of the live action.
Okay.
And so basically they did trailers. Have a look at it after this if you guys have a chance. And I don't know what's actually happened to that, but have a look at it. So K&K Productions.
Okay.
And they did a couple of trailers, and it looked pretty good, but I'm assuming they didn't get it done in the end.
I'm not sure if the appetite is there anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right?
I mean, I was just gonna ask, like, have you seen the original Dragon Ball remake Evolution? I know you've seen it, Dan, but have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, no, and probably because I've heard so many bad things.
Nah, I didn't watch
It's fucking atrocious, man.
Yeah, I think as you were saying, like the interest may not be there because of how bad a legacy Evolution left in the world of remakes. But that wasn't. They did make a Japanese remake ages ago in the 90s, I think. I think it was a Chinese production. I'm not sure, but that also wasn't great. But I think that's because the technology was just not there in the 90s.
Why do you guys think it has never been done properly or to a fan's desire? Is it just because the fighting scenes, like you watch the scene and it's literally just making punching movements here? Obviously, people can't see it, but and that's like the gist of the fighting scene, or it's like one punch and he goes through a rock and then he picks them up and like throws them through another rock. Like that would just not translate on the big screen.
Well, I mean, like that's kind of what Man of Steel is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it can be done nowadays, I think. Like, I really like in Man of Steel. There's a fight scene where Superman fights a bunch of other aliens in the country town in Smallville. And it's like, it looks really good. Like, that's what I kind of imagine a Dragon Ball fight would look like at that scale. Maybe with a bit more like martial arts in it. But like you said, I think it's a bit hard to replicate that level of speed and strength and also include martial arts. Because like the Superman fight is good, but it is just throwing people around and tumbling around each other. Like there's not really punching and kicking and kung fu. Like I think if you were to incorporate that, it would have to be slowed down a lot, which would also...
if you watch the Broly movie, they do it pretty well. Like there's like punches and kicks because they had a budget this time, so it's not just like as you've seen in Dragon Ball Z where it's just like literally that kind of recycling of cells of punching it. But it's actually quite good. Well, I think one of the reasons that a Dragon Ball Z live action movie probably won't work now is superhero movie fatigue. I think people are starting to get a bit tired. Maybe I'm speaking for myself, but people are getting a little bit tired of the spectacle CGI battle. And I think Dragon Ball it's just, for me personally, it is just, I want to watch anime when I'm watching Dragon Ball. Like, I want to watch animation. I don't want to watch a live action thing. And I think that's what most people who like Dragon Ball are going to want to watch, you know? So it's kind of like, I think that's probably why it won't really work. Because there's a video on YouTube about a guy who he talks, I think he compares the differences to like live action anime and why it just doesn't work most of the time is because it's kind of like almost like a little bit disrespectful to the idea of animation. It's kind of like, live action is the more grown up version of it, as opposed to the animation. Because there's still that stigma of animation in the West being for kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it's live action, it's for adults. So yeah. But I think it's just, I think it just works better as an anime because you've got like a lot of the gags, a lot of silly costumes as well. Because I'm assuming if it's a live action remake, it would be a Hollywood production and it would be a Western production where that humor probably doesn't really translate that well. I think.
Yeah, it's hard.
There's got to be some good reasons because, like, the fan base was there and it just hasn't been done.
Like, I can count the amount of decent live action anime adaptations on one hand. And like my standards as well are fairly low when it comes to that. Like I'm one of the few people that actually enjoyed Speed Racer. So I think like it is just really hard to translate the medium of anime into live action in general. And for something with such scale as Dragon Ball, like not just in terms of like the characters' power levels, but in terms of like all the weird stuff that happens like throughout the series, like you'd have to explain so much stuff, and like that's never a good thing for a movie. Like you'd have to explain what the hell, like how do the Dragon Balls work? Like that's probably a big flaw of the Dragon Ball Evolution is that they do try to explain too much of the lore, that it just bogs the story down in exposition.
Oh, that's one of the big flaws.
Yeah, I mean,
and then, like you said, Dan, like, where do you start? There's like, it's 9 seasons.
That's right.
Where do you start? Yeah. And you can't start in the future in like season 5 to 6 or whatever, because you need to explain who these guys are.
Yeah. Why is there a big green motherfucker that's just in amongst all?
Why is this guy called Garlic Jr.?
And why are his henchmen called Sugar and Salt?
Yeah. Why are they doing this weird? Why has he got blue hair now? Even I was asking that. Who is this fox dude all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Who's this clock guy?
Well, you look at the Earthlings. Around. So like Yamcha's, and again the name's hilarious. Yamcha, Oolong.
Yeah.
Bloody.
Yeah.
What's the fat dude's name?
Oh, I forgot. What's his name?
Keep thinking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He's Yajirobe, isn't he?
No, yeah, Yajirobe. That's it.
Yeah, Yajirobe.
Yajirobe.
But like all this stupid, like they just got lazy with the naming.
There's too much shit to explain, I think.
Chiaotzu.
Yeah, why does Chiaotzu look like Chiaotzu? Why does Tien have an eye in the middle of his head? Like what?
So they're humans, right? Yeah. What the fuck is
I don't know what Chiaotzu is, man.
He's just a little clown kid.
He's useless. I
really remember the moment when like Chiaotzu kills himself to try to kill Raditz, and Piccolo's like, you should never like underestimate the size of a fighter. And then he's like, as Ethan just said, yeah, he's useless. He just died for no reason.
Yeah. I feel bad for those like Dragon Ball carryover characters that just like have no point in Dragon Ball Z because they're so like underpowered. I guess the same thing happens in GT as well. Like a lot of characters from Z that were formidable fighters just get thrown by the wayside because like the Saiyans just increase in power, whereas everybody, you know, there's a bit of a ceiling.
You can't, you just, if you're a human, you're just shit.
Just shit.
I mean, like,
Krillin, you hear me, like, Krillin? You're shit.
Like, didn't Krillin do the disco? What's it called?
The disc.
Destructo disc.
Yeah.
And he cuts Frieza in half. Like, that's all right.
No,
doesn't he cut Frieza in half?
He cuts his tail off, I think.
Yeah. Frieza cuts himself in half with a Destructo disc.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because someone tricks him, yeah.
Yeah, Goku tricks him into cutting himself in half or something, into bits. Yeah, Krillin just gets blown up.
Yeah, because you realize Goku doesn't actually kill anyone.
Doesn't he kill Frieza?
No, Frieza, the whole of Namek blows up and he leaves Frieza.
Well, no, Goku like gives him enough energy to escape.
Yep.
And then like Frieza decides to use that energy to shoot a fireball at Goku's back because it's Frieza, you know. And then I think Goku deflects that fireball back into Frieza, and that's what kills him. Or it's Namek blowing up. One of those two happens. But yeah,
I think it's Namek blowing up. But yeah, basically, he doesn't take anyone down, Goku.
Yeah. And that's kind of like he's undoing a lot of the time as well. He's not finishing people off when he really should.
Yep.
Like that, I think, similar things happen to Cell. Yeah, there's too much sportsmanship in Dragon Ball. It's like the fate of the world is at stake, and they're just like, I'll give you a senzu bean so you can fight at full potential. Yeah.
Senzu beans.
I think what's cool is you see a lot of Dragon Ball Z in today's pop culture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So just like, I don't know if you guys are basketball fans at all, but like LeBron, he posted something because he was injured, and he posted it himself in like one of those, it's not a time chamber, but in, mask on, and he was in the...
yeah.
And like, that's cool. Like, I mean, he's the biggest athlete in the world, and he's thrown up those sorts of things.
Well, I think Dragon Ball is pretty much in the mainstream zeitgeist now. Like, I think everyone our age, and even maybe a little bit younger than us, even Gen Z knows what Dragon Ball is. It's like, Dragon Ball is cool, you know.
Yep.
It's like a style now. It's quite ubiquitous.
Yeah, it's definitely got its own style, like the Super Saiyan thing. Like the gold hair Super Saiyan, probably more so than the recent iterations, because I think maybe there are too many. Like you said, red hair and blue hair, and maybe it's a bit too much to keep track of. But on the surface, it's a pretty simple like storyline that people can get behind. It's basically Superman, right? Like it's the story of this savior coming to Earth to protect it from all its villains. So yeah, I think
it just gets out of hand.
Yeah, yeah. But even like when it gets out of hand, you don't really need to follow all of that stuff. Like, yeah, you can kind of you just get it. It's quite easy to understand, I think. So yeah, maybe like a live action remake might work. I don't know if it's ubiquitous enough, because I think for a successful adaptation to be done, you probably can't explain a lot of it. Stuff kind of just has to happen, and people kind of have to just understand that it's happened. It's like when Superman does his laser vision. You don't need to explain laser vision because everybody knows Superman can do laser vision, right? Whereas Goku like turning Super Saiyan probably is not the same thing. It's not something that people immediately grasp and understand. So you would probably have to explain why he can do that and why blonde hair makes him stronger.
Yeah.
Which is an issue, I think.
You're talking about reboots and shit. Like, I would just say don't remake it. But Dan and I have kind of a new segment coming on.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
Even though a bad remake has already been made, if they were going to remake a Dragon Ball movie, who would you cast, Ethan, and who would you pick as a director?
Jeez.
Yeah. Has to be white people as well, because Hollywood doesn't cast Asians for Asian roles.
Doesn't have to be white people, but like, it's funnier if it's white people because, like, you know.
Just trying to think. Director, I'll have to have a think about, but cast as a Goku.
Would you pick a Ryan Gosling, perhaps?
You'd want someone who you know would be pretty big, because Goku's got that massive chest, right?
Yeah. Would you pick The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson as Goku?
The Rock would be a great napper, I reckon.
He's already got the hair.
It would be a great napper, yeah.
That's a tough one. I'll defer and I'll have a think about it.
Goku is hard.
Goku's hard.
Probably easier is Vegeta.
Vegeta. Who would Vegeta be?
I don't know, because like, would you give them artificial muscles, like the guy that plays Shazam, you know, like Zachary Levi, or would you cast big? Because they're ridiculously big. So even if you cast big, it's not really an accurate representation of the anime, right? And it really pigeonholes you in terms of casting as well.
That's true.
I know every actor can get on roids and get big in like 2 weeks these days, but...
Well, I guess like you can probably narrow it down to just like a particular saga, and I guess it'd be like when Vegeta gets to Earth. So maybe like if I was gonna do it, I'd just put Ryan Gosling as Goku. I don't know why. And then maybe Edward Norton as Vegeta. And then as the director, probably I don't know, just get James Gunn and put him in there, and then he can 80s it fired up and just like take the identity away from Dragon Ball and just go full blown bad remake. Chi-Chi's probably. I always just cast Jenna Ortega because I don't know a lot of the young actresses of these days. So
Jenna Ortega as Chi-Chi.
I would actually cast like a comedic actor as Goku, I reckon. Like give a comedic actor abs. Like a Chris Pratt type.
Well, because Goku is a goofball.
Yeah. He needs to have like that duality of like a real goofball, but he can be serious when the fate of the world is at stake.
So you're just gonna make Chris Pratt play all the classic Japanese live action title characters?
Yeah, I'm thinking like Hollywood Tubby. Just get Chris Pratt.
So he's gonna be Link. You're gonna see Chris Pratt as Link. That's like the rest of his career.
I reckon he's watched Dragon Ball as well. He's of that age bracket where he's probably grown up on Dragon Ball. So.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
The easy answer for Goku is just go with Henry Cavill. He's got the size. He plays every big character.
He'll take it pretty seriously as well. Yeah.
Maybe too seriously.
And again, you're probably a fan.
Yeah, he's probably a fan.
Play it seriously, but he would take the role very seriously because Henry Cavill is like a nerd, so he loves.
Didn't he get fired from The Witcher for like being too much of a stickler for the lore?
Yeah, I think so.
It wasn't necessarily because of that, but I don't think it helped the production.
Yeah, I was gonna watch that show, but then I read all that shit. Like, nah, not interested.
Henry Cavill is a good choice, and he's played Superman, so he's
people will watch no matter what he's in.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Is that our live action remix?
What's the director though? Zack Snyder?
Nah, it's too dark. Get Christopher Nolan to do it.
Oh man,
He's suddenly becoming like a thriller.
He's actually pretty good at condensing complex stories and making them
Christopher
easy to
Nolan.
understand.
I reckon that would get butts into seats.
Give him a
Christopher
trilogy.
Nolan's Dragon
He could
Ball.
do it.
And Michael Caine is Master Roshi.
Michael Caine as Master Roshi.
All right, Goku, you gotta look after your blood sugars. So, you can't just be eating jelly donuts all the time.
Yeah.
As he tries to grope someone.
yeah.
Oh man.
Make it happen. All right, guys. I've got a quiz for you. I found this quiz courtesy of howstuffworks.com.
Jeez.
It's a which Dragon Ball Z character are you? I've already done it twice, and I got Frieza both times, even though I was trying to get Vegeta. I got
really?
Frieza fucking both times, Tommy. I don't know how accurate this quiz is, but yeah, here are the questions. Each question has 4 options. Number 1, how strong are you? A, I work hard to get stronger every day. B, I'm the strongest person I know. C, I'm kind of a punk. Or D, true strength isn't measured by physical strength.
A for me.
I work hard to get stronger every day for Ethan.
Yep.
I'll probably do D.
D, true strength isn't measured by physical strength.
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
You're on your way to becoming Chiaotzu.
Yeah.
Oh man, if one of you gets Chiaotzu.
I'm useless. Oh man, that's like the worst result. That's like, that'd be worse than hearing that if you got cancer. It's like you go to your doctors and it's like, so the blood results came in and you're Chiaotzu. It's like,
No.
It's like, is there a cure for this? It's like, unfortunately not. Being Chiaotzu has no.
Let's go.
There's been no.
Go blow yourself
cure.
up.
Yeah.
Ineffectively. Next question. What is your weapon of choice? A, a sword. B, a gun. C, my mind. Or D, the elements of the universe.
A sword.
Sword for Sally.
The elements of the universe.
The elements of the universe for Ethan. Cool. All right. Next question. What would you wish for if you got all the Dragon Balls? Actually, before I go through these options, what would you wish for if you got all the Dragon Balls?
For me, probably just like, successful movie career for me. That's about it, really.
Oh yeah, not world peace,
Yeah.
not feed all the starving people in the world. A successful movie career for yourself is what you'd wish for, Tommy.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay.
World peace, utopias don't work there.
It's true.
Because of the way humans are designed, someone's gonna fuck something
That's
up.
true.
So I may as well just be selfish.
All right, yeah, valid answer. What would you wish for, Ethan?
I would just wish that my family live a healthy life. I think when
Nice.
people are given too many things, my life doesn't really mean anything, right? So, and also I would not want to live forever. So I just want to live a healthy
Yeah.
life. No medical ailments or suffering for people I actually like. Other people, it's all right.
Yeah, other people can get fucked, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We can't have overpopulation happening, right? So
No,
somebody's got to die.
hyperinflation, unlimited money. You got to think about the inflation that's going to bring.
Yeah, unlimited
yeah.
money has its limits.
What about you, Dan?
Immortality, live forever. Yeah, I'd totally go for that. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens next.
So when the Earth blows up,
I'm just gonna
and
be
there's
there in the vacuum of
You're gonna be
space,
floating in
just
the vacuum
unable
of
to
space.
die. Yes, Tabi, that's what I want.
Oh, wow, this guy. That's super villain shit right there,
That's
Dan.
why I got Frieza twice, I reckon. All right, so these are the options for what would you wish for if you got all the Dragon Balls. A, for a happy life. B, to be the ruler of the world. C, for all the knowledge in the world. D, for peace.
I'd go happy life. Because all the knowledge in the world would just make you really depressed.
It's true.
So, happy
Yeah,
life.
happy
would
life.
be-
A
Happy
as well.
life. Okay, happy lives all around. All right, next question. Which of these words best describes you as a person? A, passionate. B, funny. C, caring. D, wise.
I'd say I'm pretty passionate, about. I don't come off as passionate, but I do a lot of work on my craft and stuff, and I'm always trying to improve myself. So I'd say I'm pretty passionate. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you go on rants about censorship. I think you're pretty passionate.
Yeah.
I'll just piggyback and I'll go passionate as well.
Passionate as well. Okay.
we're both going to be Chiaotzu.
No, that first question's the kicker.
It's already been decided.
Can you actually get Chiaotzu?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the options are.
What answers?
So irrelevant. He's not even in there.
He's probably not even in. I reckon the quiz, the guy who made the quiz is like, no, I don't think. probably better not be like put Chiaotzu in there. There might be like suiciding quiz or something.
All right. Next question. What is your favorite color? A, blue. B, red. C, orange. D, green.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I'm blue.
Ethan's blue.
I will be red just to be the differ.
Red. Like the color of Chiaotzu's cheeks. Red. Gotcha. All right. Next question. Which of these superpowers did you wish you had? A, super speed. B, invincibility. C, mind reading. Or D, shapeshifting.
Super speed.
Super speed for Ethan. That's a good one.
I wonder, mind reading might be useful, but that'd also just make you more depressed.
Yeah,
'cause then
when you realize everyone actually hates you.
Everyone actually hates you, yeah. I don't know, invincibility is good because then it's like you don't wake up feeling like shit every morning. But super speed, you can travel. I'm going to say super speed as well,
Super speed.
so I can get to places faster.
Yeah, super speed's pretty useful.
Yeah.
Like, invincibility, sure, but like how many situations do you get in where it's like deadly? You know what I mean? Like when you're living your day-to-day life, super speed's going to be more useful than invincibility, unless you're a fucking idiot that's like just running in front of cars.
Man, imagine that. You don't need to buy car renter anymore.
Yeah. All right, next question. Which video game console is the best of all time? A, Sony PlayStation. B, Microsoft Xbox. C, Nintendo Game Boy. Or D, Super Nintendo.
PlayStation, man. Straight up.
PlayStation.
Yeah, it's got to be PlayStation.
I agree. Next question. How do you stay fit? A, boxing. B, weightlifting. C, eating healthy. Or D, I was born with great genes.
I'd probably say like weightlifting. That's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Boxing for me. Nice. I love how these are going to translate to a character. Especially the console question.
Yeah. Chiaotzu loves PlayStation.
That's all he can do.
So, yeah.
All right. Next question is, what is your favorite food in the world? Maybe before I go into options. Yeah, what is your favorite food in the world?
My favorite food?
What is your death row food? Your last meal?
That's a good question, actually. I like a lot of stuff.
Sushi for me.
Sushi?
Or like a chirashi bowl of some sort.
Yeah. Sushi is good. Fuck. I do like dumplings. I'm a big fan of pot stickers. Like, yeah. Quite simple, but like very nourishing. Like soul nourishing. Not healthy nourishing, but soul nourishing food. I'm just going to go dumplings, man.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
What do you have, Dan?
I would have a steak, cooked blue, with pepper sauce on the side, and duck fat potatoes on the side. Yeah, no vegetables.
Cooked blue.
No vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very highbrow. That's Dan for you. Duck fat chips.
But here are the options for what is your favorite food in the world. A, cheesecake. B, tacos. C, fruit. Or D, noodles.
Noodles.
Yeah, noodles are good.
We're Asian, man.
All right, next question is, out of the following, what are you connected to the most? A, people. B, technology. C, books. Or D, nature.
People for me.
These days it'd be books for me, yeah.
So people for you, Ethan, and books for Tabi. Next question. Of the following, which would be true about your emotional state? A, be yourself no matter what. B, show no weakness. C, live as an open book. Or D, don't show any emotions.
I'm pretty much a live as an open book. Like what you see is what you get with me. Yeah.
A for me.
Be yourself no matter what.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say A, but it depends on what kind of person you are as well. Like being yourself sometimes.
Yeah, if you're like a horrible person, maybe not be yourself.
If you're shit, don't be yourself.
Your Chiaotzu, try to do better. All right, next question. You see the person you dislike. What do you do? A, acknowledge their presence. B, say something insulting. C, get flustered. Or D, nothing. I'm fine as long as they don't bother me.
D.
Yep, D as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, next one. That same person, the one that you dislike, is choking. What do you do? A, perform the appropriate maneuver to help the individual. B, laugh. C, call an ambulance. Or D, wait for someone else to help them.
How much do we dislike this person?
Just think of the person you dislike the most, Tari.
I'd probably laugh.
Okay, laugh.
I'd wait for someone else.
Someone will help them. Wait for someone else. Is that because you're not confident in your first aid skills, Ethan? Or
that's correct. I would try to help them, but I also wouldn't want to kill them.
Yeah, you shouldn't do first aid if you don't know what you're doing, guys. Yeah, that's very true.
I would do first aid if it's to kill them.
You're just pushing the food deeper into their throat.
It's like you gotta make an incision at the throat. Like,
yeah, give it an emergency tracheotomy. All right, next question. You're about to go off on an adventure. Who would you choose to accompany you? A, someone who is really smart. B, I don't need anyone. C, someone who is really strong. Or D, someone who is really quiet.
Someone who's strong.
Someone who's strong.
No, wait, sorry. Someone who's smart.
Someone who's smart.
Yeah, I'm going to go smart as well.
Is that to compensate for your guys' abilities?
Yeah.
It's better company, right? You know,
yeah,
to have a good conversation. We're smart guys, right? We like to have smart conversations.
Yeah, true. All right, next question. What is the world's biggest problem? A, violence. B, stupidity. C, ignorance. Or D, greed.
Stupidity.
Greed. Stupidity is good too.
Yeah,
stupidity.
Both of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna say stupidity.
Both of them tie in pretty well.
Yeah, I think
stupidity
so,
and
right.
greed here. All right, this is the last question. What are you most afraid of? A, losing my family. B, nothing and no one. C, any and everything. Or D, losing my cool.
Losing my family.
Yeah, I'd say losing family as well. Yeah.
All right, the results are in. I'll start with...
Chiaotzu.
Nobody got Chiaotzu, so that's good. I'll start with Tavi. You got Vegeta.
Hey.
You are spoiled, entitled, and vain. You're a vain person who believes that everything in life should be handed to you just because of who you are. You're obsessed with becoming the best, which can be a good thing, but you always get carried away. You enjoy competing because you enjoy beating people, and your personality leaves a lot to be desired.
Some positives there.
All right.
That's interesting. I'm not sure if that's completely accurate. I do like competing in certain things, but not really. I'm quite like.
Would you consider yourself vain and spoiled?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's true.
Yeah.
I'm pretty vain. I'm pretty
I
spoiled.
can tell from your beard that you're vain, Tommy.
Too much time grooming.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's an hour and a half of your morning right there. All right, Ethan, you got Goku.
Oh, damn it.
You are a cheerful and carefree person, but that quickly changes when the going gets tough. You love competing for fun and tend to use violence as a last resort when solving problems. You are extremely loyal to those you love, and your number one priority is taking care of those important in your life. Your heart is 100% pure.
I'll take that.
Pretty good result.
That's so much more positive than Vegeta.
So much more positive, Tom.
I'm just a major prick.
I feel like your description was worse than my description somehow of Frieza, the most hateful character of Dragon Ball Z.
Everyone wants to try to get Vegeta.
I like Vegeta, man. I think he's a cool bloke.
I'd love to know how some of those questions tied into the answers, but
that's not for us to know, Ethan. That's up to the creators of
favorite food.
How stuff works. Do you think that's accurate of your character, Ethan? Or would you consider yourself competing for fun, like loving to compete for fun?
No, I'm a pretty competitive person, but I think the rest of it is pretty accurate. Pretty family guy, family oriented. Yeah.
Taking care of those important to you. Yeah.
I've become a bit of a weak Goku in my older age.
I mean, that's still good though. If you're a weak Goku at this age, I reckon you're doing the right thing. Yeah, it's better than a weak Frieza. Better than Chiaotzu.
Better than Chiaotzu. I wonder if Chiaotzu is in that quiz. It's like, I wonder what the description is. You got Chiaotzu.
You were there, but no one cares.
If I was going to make a quiz, every result would end in Chiaotzu. And you wouldn't know. That's the beauty of it.
It's like, wait a minute. What would you write? You are a little clown kid who thinks they have a lot of power, but you would actually not contribute to anything in society.
You will barely be remembered as a fixture of this show.
Yeah.
We also don't know why you are there.
Yeah, and we don't know why you look like how you look.
We don't know what you are.
What are you, Chiaotzu? If anybody knows, can you tell us what Chiaotzu is? Is he human? Is he? I don't know. All right, that's the end of our super fun Dragon Ball Z character quiz. Do we have anything more to say about Dragon Ball Z, guys?
No, it's a pretty cool show back as a kid. I can't say that I would be screaming to watch any of the new ones these days. I think my tastes have changed more away from the shonen stuff. But I think Dragon Ball is just a big foothold in a lot of people around our age, like in our memory, and probably has buried itself somewhere like in our subconscious, that it's like quite influential to us, I think, as well. Yeah,
I agree with that. It's, like we said, the perfect time. It's in Australia, particularly with Cheese TV. So many different things that are now bled through into pop culture and just things that we talk about, powering up and he's gone Super Saiyan in different walks of life. But yeah, just like you say, a really good intro into the whole anime sort of genre, I think, for guys around our age, and everyone has a pretty soft spot in their hearts for Dragon Ball Z, I think.
Yeah, and I think that shows in a lot of the more recent iterations of it. Like, I like how they've kind of captured like these works like Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Kai. They've captured what fans like about the show, but they've also managed to adapt to the changing format of anime in general. Like, you can't really get away with half an episode of powering up anymore. People won't watch it, right? So yeah, they've adapted with the times, and I appreciate that. And all the work that they've put in to keeping it relevant, which, yeah, I think it is. I think it's still a relevant show. All right, well, thank you, Ethan, for joining us for our episode. If people want to check out your stuff, like, where can they go?
Yeah, so Growing Up Bananas, we mainly operate through Instagram and our YouTube page. So please check us out, and it'd be cool to continue to check out your journey. You guys are doing some cool things and keeping the people entertained, which is, I guess, why we do this. Not for the money, because we're bloody losing as much money as left, right and centre with our time.
Yeah. We'd like to do it for the money one day. I mean, let's not kid around. Yeah, that's right. But no, definitely, no, you're 100% right. And I'm really looking forward to coming on to Growing Up Bananas. I'd like to talk to you about metal, because that's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of stuff there, and like I said, 3 Asian blokes for one day. We'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. But guys, what did you think of Dragon Ball Z? Are you a fan? Have you kept up with the series, like all the new stuff? Because we haven't so much. Let us know. You can get in touch with us at 2asianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at 2asianblokes to see what we're up to. Yeah, please do check out Growing Up Bananas. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, they can be found on Instagram at Growing Up Bananas as well. Yeah, all right. I think that's us for now.
Yeah.
Until next time, guys. Catch you later.
Thanks again.
Rock the dragon. Rocket.
Fuck the dragon.
Rock the dragon.
Fuck the dragon. All right.